Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Anyway, today we got a Cuckoo clock to work on, and actually I bought this one for parts because I got it cheap enough. The only thing it does is Cuckoo, and it does have leather bellows, but I noticed one of them was broke and they were very stiff and locked open because it's sat so long. And right now I have clamps on them, my packing clamps, and this clock's killing me. I need to dust it and wax the front of it because it looks so terrible. Let me show you real quick the before and then the after. So here's the clock. It's like I say, it's really dried out. It has a plastic deer head on it, but it does have its ears and can be touched up a little bit so some of the white's not coming through as much. Normally I don't like plastic ones, and if it really bothered me, I could switch it out if I was to keep this clock, which I can't ever part a clock out. So anyway, this here is just screaming for some wax, so I'm going to do that. We've got two weights that are 275, came with the pendulum. We don't have the horn pieces for this clock. Yeah, there too is missing. This here clock also has just your clamps to clamp it to the roof, and it does have a U-nail here, and there is a place that you can catch it, a wire here to hold it on, because usually the deer heads, especially if they're wood, they're heavy and they sometimes want to move forward on you. But otherwise, this here piece, for what I paid for the clock, this here was cheap, and you throw away the clock, and still this is cheap. So that's a kind of one of the things about buying some clocks, is if you have a more expensive clock that needs one of these with the, I think they're oak leaves, this is the way to do it compared to buying just the headset. This here is $65 to $100 alone that people want on eBay, which is totally ridiculous, but some people don't care about money because they got plenty of it and would buy just the headpiece. There. I'm sorry you had to see how dried out and nasty, dusty that poor clock was, and now we have wax on it. And boy, did it make noise when I started putting it on. It was sucked it in so well. Nice pendulum. See, it's got the two weights. They're 275. I didn't put the hands back on because the hands need replacing because they're broke. So anyway, let's go ahead and turn this thing around and show you the movement. So this does have decent size whistle boxes. We're about 4 3/4. I'm just going to guess just the whistle box itself, not counting the top. And like I say, these are leather, but I saw a hole in that one over there, and they were very stiff, or once I was able to get them bent back down, they did fold up halfway decent. They're still trying to pop up. And let me see about putting the hand back on to see if this thing will even cuckoo. Well, it's a little wimpy. Like I say, we do have a hole in the one, and maybe in both of them. And this does say it's a 25 regular, and there's no dates on here or anything. It does say Schmeckenbecher up here, And it's made in West Germany according to the movement, so that would be after the war. And it just says plain Germany on the front. So what I plan on doing here, like I say, that movement looks really clean. I didn't even try to see if it'd tick. It ticks. So I guess the only thing we're going to do with this, we'll pull the movement and oil it. We'll probably blow it out too, whether it needs it or not, with this compressed air that blows out potato chip crumbs, Dorito crumbs, or whatever out of your keyboard. That's all it is, just plain air. And it blows out, like I say, the dust and whatnot, if there is any. And then you can oil it. And we're going to pull out both these whistle boxes. And this might be a repair video, as in just changing the paper. I'm going to use Tyvek compared to the leather, if those really are broken. So let me get those out and then we'll be back. Hands off the chains, and now we can go ahead and just pull them right on through. It's going to be easier that way, so you don't have to fight these chains as you're trying to oil your clock. And just to let you know, if you're going to do this, you should go ahead and take pictures, because if you don't do this but one clock or whatever, you need to look at which arm, lift arm, and wire goes to which bellow, and which normally, on this clock anyway, you have your hammer, you have your shorter arm, and the shorter arm, lift arm here, goes up to the bellow on the left side. The longer one, which is the bottom one, the longer arm goes up to the right side. And normally your wire is longer on the right side, and your wire to the bellow on the left side is usually shorter. Every once in a while they might be the same size. I've found that too, but we'll measure it or look at it when we get this out of here. So here you take the screw out, and the scary thing is that might be a nail there, but I have a feeling sometimes they've glued these in. Don't know why. The glue just causes a headache to the person that has to oil this clock when it's time, and it should be oiled every 3 to 5 years. So I take the screw out and I normally push here. Yeah, there is a nail in there. I push it in so I can get a screwdriver in back here so I can pry it out. Let's take a quick look at this one, being that it's in my hands. It doesn't look, well, there it is. See right there? It still works. And I'll look at the other one, but if I really wanted to, I could probably put a piece of Tyvek paper over that rip spot, and this would work for a while still. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and put my clamp back on, trying to get the memory back. I already pushed the bellow through, and I try to get these to come out. Sometimes you have to push this down into the frame to get it by, or to get it to come out of the arm, or what do you want to call it? The arm there. It's got a circle. So this one looks like it's in pretty good shape. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of tie-back paper on there. Here's my wires I keep it shut with. I made them myself out of some cheap wire, soft wire, so I can bend it to size. It holds it shut nicely. Now let's look at these wires here. So the one on the right side is longer for sure. And I normally put my screw back in the bellow, and for someone new you might want to do that because you can be taking 4 screws out of the movement, and you don't want to get those screws mixed up with these screws because they're not the same size. So means that we're going to take this movement out, we want to go ahead and release the bird. He's got a wire going to the door. This looks like it's a lightweight wire, which is nice. Sometimes they're really strong, and if you don't have fat fingers like me, you might be able to get a hold of that wire and finish bending it up, and then pull it down so it's out of the door and it goes back in. Great. I'm going to go ahead and pull this crown off also because I don't want to get it damaged. So I have the 4 screws out, and there it is. Set this case aside for now. So by the looks of what I found on my screwdriver around pulling the screws out, and there is some dust here. So we're going to take the can of air and blow this whole thing down, because by the looks of it, it's just dust, and I don't necessarily see really black anything around the pivots, and that's the part that you're going to be oiling. It all looks pretty clean, so let me take this outside and blow it out. So I usually buy my tie-back paper. I buy 25 sheets at a time. Each sheet will do 2 bellows, and so then you always have extra pieces left over. I have this one here, extra piece. Let's whack this off here. Let's look at that bellow. Is it this one? Wasn't this one? Must be the other one. I don't see it now. Let me figure this one out. Okay, I had to get it close and personal. It's right here in the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing just that 1/2, I guess we'll call it. I got extra paper here, obviously. Oops, maybe hold on to my part where you squeeze. And just lay it right in that crease. And I got some on my fingers. This is where you get a piece of paper towel. At least I have to, because this stuff sticks to my fingers like you wouldn't believe. So realistically, that bellow is now done. All I'll do is cut this paper off here. Use the wife's scissors. She's not home, so it's okay. sewing scissors. So what I'm going to do is leave this thing shut again. And that bellow, technically speaking, is repaired, right? It actually is repaired. I don't necessarily like just repairing. I'd just soon change them out. But it's a shame to change leather when you have a totally good one on the other side. Now, because these were, let's say, so dried out because they wouldn't shut when I first got this thing, there's a chance they all might break, and then I won't feel as guilty pulling them apart and putting new paper over the whole thing. And I do have a video on repairing bellows, whether you want to put Tyvek paper on, or whether you want to just change the whole top, order the top only, and they come in as pairs. You'd measure from the front to the back and from the side to the side when you go to order them. And I have a video showing how I get those off. I use hot glue to get them back on. Check it out if you'd like to. I do believe it'd be, go to my videos and it'd be underneath the Cuckoo clock section. So what I do is this oiler dumps the oil and then picks it back up. I had a drop already on there. Normally you push it and it sucks it back up. You can use a toothpick, dip it into some clock oil if you have clock oil. They sell a different oiler on eBay. That's just plastic. You'd squeeze this a little bit and it'd pop some oil out for you, and then you'd let it go on top of it and it would suck it back in, because all you want to do is just moisten it. And then if you over moisten it, let's put it that way, you can take I'd use a tissue and dab it. Don't drag it on there, just dab it. Because too much oil is something that you'd end up having dust, and dust you don't want to have attracted to your clock. I can't get underneath this one, so I'm going to go from the inside and oil it from behind. Now come to the front. Now the front's more difficult because there's levers all over the place. You just have to look, see where the levers, look underneath the levers, and oil as needed. Such as this here, I call it Pac-Man. It needs oil down underneath it. Like I say, there's many places that are, let's say, hidden because of all these levers, and being how you don't want to take those levers off. And that one there, I spilled a little too much oil on there. Because I lifted it before it was done sucking it up. And you can trace your levers going back and forth to make sure you got each one of them. Such as there's one right in here. Have to sneak clear down through to get it. The idea of oiling your movement every 5 to 7 years is because the oil, like I say, starts to dry up and the new oil refreshes it. And it's also, like I did, it's a good time to get the dust out of the clock, because the dust and the oil together start plugging up your clock. If your movement's already stopped, it won't run no more. You could oil it, and it might run for a short while, because it'll start loosening the dust and oil, and then it'll just plug it back up again. And so if it stops, realistically, you should tear this whole thing down and clean each part separately. Split the plates, get the whole... But if you do that, if you do that, take pictures as you're doing it. If you watch my other videos, I kind of explain on every one that I've taken apart. I explain what you're supposed to be doing or whatever, so you understand what you're doing, I guess. Anyway, I do believe I got all of them. Let me take another quick look. So, I decided to check something out. I missed it. Gong cuckoo, gong cuckoo. It runs a little bit further than I want it to, but that's fine. And with our Pac-Man, our little lever has its rod that dropped right in the center where it's supposed to. And let me get back to this hand again. What I want to see is this part here. I want to see where it falls on the snail. Let's get you a little closer so you can see it too. This hand I just threw on, so don't look at it on what position it is. Right now it's on the hour, and as you can see, it's still dropping down the ramp. So right there's just now starting to cuckoo. Move this out of the way. You see this here pointer dropped all the way down, so it's going to count the proper amount of cuckoos for the time it is according to the snail. If you had a problem where this is dropping down but is closer to the edge, the wrong edge we'll say, that's not a good thing, because once it gets to the 12 o'clock, which is down here, it might start running into this, or it'll start, your clock might stop at approximately 5 minutes till the hour. And to remedy that, you'd have to take off this E-clip down in here, take that washer off, and that way you can lift the snail up and move it one gear on here. That's got gears on it. Move it back one gear or whatever until you can get, as soon as it's ready to drop, so you can get it closer to the edge here. So anyway, we have this oiled, blown out and oiled. We repaired the whistle box, or the whistle, or the bellow. So why don't we just go ahead and throw this back into the clock and see how well it does. This clock, now that it looks good, all it needed was a horn and the mouthpiece and horns for the deer. I don't think I'll be junking this one or tearing it apart. We've got the movement screwed in. Now we're going to put this bellow on, or this whistle box. And here we take the shorter wire. And you notice this isn't smashed in. It's normal shaped. You don't have to crimp those on to hold them in place. Once this is all hooked up, they should stay right where they're at. Unless you ship them, and then it's better to have the shipping wire on because you have a good chance of this thing shaking apart and dropping its wire or wires. There, you got it hooked. So we have this long wire here that goes under the cuckoo bird's tail. And also you look for the original nail holes in the bottom of this, because you don't want a bunch of holes made in this one that's already set and mess up your adjustments that someone else has already made for this clock. So I move this back and forth until I can find the proper hole. It starts going in, it's only obvious, and then go ahead and tighten it up, and don't wrench hard because this is soft wood, those belt whistle boxes. You just snug it up. No, I can't see this side for myself. There we go. So now those are both in there. Now you say, wait, you forgot the chain. I will admit you can put the chain in before you install it back in the box. All you have to do is up here, you see this hole where the hour hand goes, minute hand goes, you drop that in this hole here so that movement will rest here. And then you can lay the chains out, and usually take a magnet as you're dropping the chain down and pull it through. Being as how we don't have any chains on, and our chains are stripped from the hooks and rings, the first thing we're going to do is turn this clock upside down, and through the first hole I'm going to drop this thing through, and we're going to turn where the chain goes. It's going around this way. Means that it's going around this way. The first hole you'll drop the chain through. You're going to not drop it so far down that's going to tangle up in the rest of the gears. You just drop it a little bit. In the second hole, you'll go ahead and give this a turn, and you can feel it grabbing the chain. You just drop it in there. You got it tipped halfway, as you can see. Turn it a little bit. Once you get a few clicks on there, you should be good, and that chain should just stay there. Well, come on through. One more time. I got it coming through the hole now. And now I'm going to put this end with the other end so it has equal weight on it. The reason why I do that is because now we can take this chain and wrap it around something so that way it doesn't fall off when we do our next one. Again, you take the screwdriver, see which way it turns. It's turning around this way, so our 1, 2, 3rd hole will drop the chain through and catch it and do the same as what we did just now. Now that we have all the chains through, now which side do you put the hook on and which one do you put the ring on? Pull. If this one's not moving, but the other side is, this one's not moving, that's the one that takes the hook. And the other one, because you can pull it, would be the one that'd be the ring. By the way, did I tell you guys how old this clock is? Where did I see that at? 368. So this clock was born in 1968. So the second chain is going to be the ring. Get your piece of chain on there. Get your ring on there. Smash it back. Level with the other chain. And if it wants to go down too far and you still got a crack, you can squeeze them together a little bit. And that's what you're looking for. Something that resembles a chain, not something that's smashed up on there. Here again. That sounds terrible. Oh, it's trying to fight through my springs on there. So this is the one that pulls, the first one. So that's the ring. So this one here gets the hook. To the cuckoo bird, and what I did is I tipped my clock. I pushed the bird out, but I made sure my wire was coming out the door already. Sometimes that's a pain to get that started. Get it hooked on there. Thank goodness this is nice light wire. It's easy to push down. And now it's hooked up. So I need to turn this to find out which side or what time it is. And I need the minute hand be pointing right at the 12. And I gotta take off my wires. So that was a half hour. I'm turning this slow because I want to stop exactly when that goes off. So now, this here nut has an edge on it that will fit inside this hand here, but I need to have the nut on there, know where it's supposed to be, so I can set my hand over that and have it pointing at the 12. And then this had a washer that would, I'm going to call it, so you can crush that on there into place, and then your decorative nut. So that should be set. So we're going to go ahead and try it again. And I don't like, the bird's not necessarily moving up enough, up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire that goes to the bellow and bend it up a little bit. Now let's see what happens when we get this to Cuckoo. I'm gonna get my 2x4 out, or whatever it was I was using. This will make it so you can watch the bird, make sure he's going up and down as much as we would like. So to add the extra touches of this, we happen to have a horn. You don't want to glue it in. It feels like there's something in there. And then we have the mouthpiece to the horn, which is wedged. And now it's starting to look better already. So besides not having the horns for this yet, it's back to looking beautiful again. So it's always a good day when you can save a clock, and I apologize, I had to show you what I ended up with, and maybe that's why I got it so cheap. But like I say, if I wanted to part that clock out just using the topper of that clock, that'd go on one of my clocks that are a little more expensive but missing the topper, and happen to be the right size, I guess that's the way to go. And that way you have a bunch of spare parts you can either sell or you can use them on your clocks. Anyway, if you appreciate this video, give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe. Why? Because it's free. And free is always good. And anyway, you have a wonderful day and God bless. Until next time.